Hello everyone and welcome back to Football Manager 2020 and a new experiment today where we're going to take a look at what would happen if a non-league team had perfect facilities. So the team we have picked today is Hemel Hempstead Town. They are in the Vanarama National League South. And as you can see down at the bottom here, they do have a 150,000 capacity stadium. So if we look at the club details, I have not changed its reputation. We may have to do that if we want to see the team go up the leagues, but I don't think it will be needed this time. What we have done though is give them that 150,000 club attendance. That means they should be selling out the stadium week after week. They're still semi-professional. They have not got a bigger bank balance, so they need to hope they can survive until they start getting gate receipts before the costs of ground maintenance really eat up the little money that they do have. But the other facilities have all been put to 20, so you can see they've got 20 training, 20 youth, 20 junior coaching, 20 youth recruitment and 20 corporate facilities, which will help with their income. I've also changed the stadium condition to 0, and as you can see, the lower the number, the better the condition of the stadium, which does reduce ground maintenance. So 0 is the best number you can get. We've also given them a roof and under soil heating. So that is all that we have changed about this club. And it means they should get two things. They should get extra finance from the stadium, but they should also benefit from the great training facilities and get some excellent wonder kids coming through because they've got 20 youth recruitment and 20 youth facilities. It's all about whether the coaches can get the best out of the players. Now, one thing that does sometimes happen is because the stadium was built in 1972, they do sometimes go and build a new stadium. So we may need to intervene again if that does happen, depending on the new stadium that they do end up building. I have no idea why that glitch exists, but it's happened before and it may happen again. But if you are looking forward to this experiment, do drop a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe down below for more experiments like this. And let me know in the comments if there's anything you'd like to see in the next part that you haven't seen by the end of this episode. But let's go forward. We'll start off going 2 years ahead and then we'll go 3 years ahead and we'll see what impact this extra facilities or these extra facilities and the extra income has done for Hemel Hempstead Town. Well, we are now 1 year ahead. We'll just do a quick run through the fixtures. It's going to be difficult to tell how much better they're doing than they should be doing, but you can see here they're already doing very well in the league, doing okay in the competitions as well, do get the FA Trophy in the first round, and they do make the playoffs actually, but they lose in the playoffs the following season. Just have a look here. They start off with a beautiful unbeaten run. Look at this, 1 defeat. So this is the impact of this extra facilities coming in. Another defeat down here to Salisbury, but they get into the FA Cup first round where they lose to Wrexham 2-1. But doing brilliantly in the league, out the FA Trophy in the first round. And they do end up finishing, if we look at the National League, as champions. We need to have a look at the league table here. They do finish 6 points clear of Billericay Town, another town that have had a load of money pumped into them. And that means they are going up into the Vanarama National League. So they've jumped the first hurdle within the first 2 years, which is not bad going. Third highest goal scorer and the highest average rating in their team as well. Clean sheets for Craig Ross as well, second highest in the league. You can see the squad here if we have a look at their value. Players are worth 67k at the top here, but their wage budget, quite interesting, already got players on 10 grand a week. That means this man gets paid $500,000 a year to play in the 6th tier of English football. He was signed from Fairsley in the National League North, and he has done reasonably well for them, you have to say. It's not like it's a waste of money, but certainly a huge salary when most players are on a few £100 a week, and he's taken home 10 grand. But you can see that I have been made manager of the club, or I've made myself manager rather, they didn't ask me, just so that we can track their finances. And you can see their profit and loss each month bouncing around all over the place, but 4 million each month. And then in the summer months they really struggle to generate any income. The friendlies come, that helps, and then they go back to huge profits. But 30 million down the drain that year, 10 million down the drain there in that month. But their overall balance has risen rapidly from 1 million-ish, I mean less than 2 grand, or negative 2 grand rather, then 26 grand, then 1.3 million, within a few months 20 million, and it just kept going up. Look, they are still making huge profits year after year. Part of this will be tax going out in this month here, where they get the big dip. That will be the tax year falling due at the end of the season, with how much money they have to pay. But you can see they've got 56 million in the transfer budget, 716 grand in the wage budget, a huge wage budget there, because they can afford this extra spending within financial fair play, and that is a big difference here. They are self-sufficient now. If we look at the income for last season, 48 million in gate receipts, 16 million in matchday income, and those corporate facilities dishing out 7 million on top as well. Merchandising, a huge income, and then various other things like grants, interest on the money they've made. I'm not sure what other is, but everything else, absolute small change. In their expenditure, I can imagine 21 million in tax. Like I said, that's where most of it has gone. If we have a look, also you've got the other here of 9 million. I'm not sure what other actually is. Miscellaneous spending always takes me by surprise how much that is. But 8 million on ground maintenance, 6 million on match day expenses, and then you get to player wages, which are only 1.4 million. It'll be much higher this year, I assume. But overall, definitely making a lot more money than they're spending. And when you look at the projections, they're just going to keep going up. This balance here does look set to go down. I'd be surprised if that's the case. But overall, they're in pretty good shape. And if we look at the club details, their club attendance has ticked over the 150,000 mark. Bank balance set at 66 million. We've already seen that really. But the facilities, youth facilities, have dropped down just a little bit. But if we go and have a look at the transfer history for the club, last season, no money spent, but lots of players brought in on frees, and this money 6.5k, but 81k going out of the club. Some players going to Fulham, and it looks like it is the regens that are being poached by teams like Fulham. I wonder if they're a feeder team to Fulham. It would make sense geographically, but Fulham seem to be absolutely raiding them of their wonder kids. If we do just have a quick look in the development centre at the under 18s, can we see? Here we go. Players with huge potential ability coming through the club. This is what you'll get with that 20 youth recruitment. So it'll be interesting how many of them actually stay at the club and how many are poached to go elsewhere. But you can see all these regens up at the top doing excellently in their training ratings. But I think most of them will probably be moved on. But what we can do a few years down the line, Peter Crouch is under 18s manager. But if we do go a few years down the line, we will see, or be able to see, where these players have ended up by just looking at trained at, or whatever the search term is, trained at this club. We'll know where they've gone on. So that'll be something to keep an eye on going forward. But let's go 3 more years into the future and see if they manage to go further up the leagues than the Vanarama National League. Well, we are 3 more years into the future, and we'll just quickly run through their time in the various leagues here. You can see a good-ish start as a newly promoted team. Not too many defeats, but not many wins either. They do get through the FA Cup first round, but lose to Rochdale in the next round. A few more victories starting to appear on the screen. They're also through in the FA Trophy 4th round here. They make it to the FA Trophy semi-final and actually beat Curzon Ashton on penalties, so they have a chance at silverware, which they do end up winning 3-1 in the final. A very good performance. No playoffs for them though. It wasn't a very good season all in all, but they do continue in the National League. You can see they've drawn with the Spurs under 23s, but then a nice unbeaten start to the league. This is what you want to see. Going through in the FA Trophy yet again, through to the next round as well. Through the 4th round, win in the semi-final against Woking, looking for back-to-back FA trophies, which they do secure 2 goals in the first 10 minutes. And they also do extremely well in the National League. If we have a look at the stages here in the league table, go back. So the first season in the National League, they actually only avoided relegation by the 12 points down in the bottom half. But the next year, they are champions, 3 points clear of Notts County to take the title and move up into Sky Bet League 2. And you can see, again, a rough start. They maybe haven't quite signed the players that they need. They're having to go at the EFL Trophy, don't make it out their group, but they do make it through the FA Cup second round for the first time, and then beat Scunthorpe 2-0 in the 3rd round, but are knocked out by Mansfield in the 4th round. but they start to recover a little bit in League Two. They don't quite make it all the way, and if we have a quick look at the league table, then we can see that in the end of the season they finished in 13th place, 63 points. Not too far off the top end of the table, but I mean it really is a definition of mid-table that they finished bang in the middle, about 10 points from the top and bottom, or 15 points from the top and bottom. So they have done reasonably well overall. You can see this nice little uptick. Bearing in mind they're a club that have kind of bounced around a bit here, spent a long time in the 7th tier, finally got up into the 6th tier, and now they're on that quick shoot up the table. You can see they're currently managed by Alex Neil as well, and they've still got that 150,000 capacity, but the stadium condition now only good, which is interesting. If we look at their finances, huge amount of money, 147 million in there. And training and youth facilities 19 and 18. I mean, this is still on 0, so I don't know why it's only saying good. I think that might be the year built. There may be some sort of trade-off between stadium condition and year built that leads to this only being rated good. And it just worries me that this is going to lead to a new stadium being built at some point. But if we look at their general information, I don't think there's any plans to move on. Oh no, they've got planning permission, look, for a planned capacity of 190,000. I thought that exceeded the biggest stadium in the game. They're looking for a 190,000 seater stadium. That is interesting. I don't know what is going on there. But like I said, I thought they'd end up going for a new stadium. It looks like they are. I'd be amazed if that actually works out. I just want to have a look at the landmarks here. You had a takeover bid, which failed. Here's their promotions. And then the new chairman takes over as a local businessman. And nothing in there in terms of their facilities. Manager-wise, they've had the same manager for quite some time, and now they have Alex Neil in charge. After this guy got them 2 promotions, he was sacked for some reason with his 2 cup wins and 2 titles, and now Alex Neil in charge of the club. So not sure quite what has happened there. If we look at their transfer history over the last 3 seasons, you can see they are spending a little bit more cash now. 73,000 in, 84 out though, still making a profit in the 21-22 season. Then £900,000 spent. Paul Kalambayi from Wimbledon, their big signing, coming down from League 2 into the National League. Didn't actually do that well for them as a centre-back. 200k on Callum Cockrell-Mollett as well. The following year, 675k spent, 600k out. Again, not astronomical fees involved here, bearing in mind the number of players sold. Despite being in League 2 at this point, they're not quite spending what they might need to in order to get out of League 2, which is a little bit of a worry. I'm sure they will turn on the taps at some point, but it just hasn't quite happened yet. I just want to have a look at their players under 18s. I sort them by value here. So you can see the key man is Harrison Logan. Little regen come through. I mean, he looks all right. It's mostly his physicals here, which are bumping him up a bit, I think, as a striker. He's only got 7 finishing. But I'd imagine that they're going to have quite a few of these players being taken away in the not too distant future. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with that stadium. It's a little bit of an odd one. I don't know why that always has to happen. Maybe setting it to 0 as a stadium condition is a little bit too favourable. I do just want to take over the club again. So I will quickly just do that. And then we can have a look at what is going on in their finances and various other things potentially, if it allows us to. So just have a look at the finances again here. You can see 147 million. It's still going up in a really comfortable, nice fashion. I don't know why they aren't spending much money on transfers. They've clearly got the headroom to do it. They're well within the financial fair play. If we have a look at that, required to keep the club player wage expenditure below 1.7 million per week. They are well below that. 220 grand a week though is a lot of money. Let's have a quick look at that squad. Look at the wages here. 61,000 for 2 players. Paul Kalambayi, 350k. Signed for 700k from another. What is going on there? Why would you pay this man 60 grand a week? How has he got away with that? Luke McCormack as well, the central midfielder, joined on a free on 60k a week. They must have just outbid someone. He has at least dropped down. Was playing at Chelsea. and then played in the Championship and dropped down. So he may be a little bit more justified in going for a higher wage. Nick Okoro as well, worth a lot of money to the club, joined on a free, or being paid a lot of money anyway, on 16 grand a week. But you can see their wage budget already at 220 grand, and they're still in League Two. That is crazy amounts of money. But they're not going to fail financial fair play anytime soon. Huge amounts of profit. I'm just wondering, debt and other loans, they've not got anything on there yet except for a little bit of transfer debt. Kit sponsorship, not quite doing great things. And you can see their projection here, again, projected to go down a little bit. We can just have another look at the under 18s. And if it will let me. There we go. It's got potential unknown at the moment, which is a bit annoying, but they've got a lot of good young players in there. I think that's probably going to be it for this part of this experiment. I'm not sure how quick this is actually going to go, given that they're not going to have problems with financial fair play. It seems at the moment they're a little bit reluctant to spend money, which is maybe a sign of good financial management. I mean, look at this. What a weird little graph. But do drop a like on the video if you've enjoyed this start to this experiment. Next time we will probably go about 10 years ahead and see if they manage to make it into the Premier League and compete there, and then the final part will come out in 2 days' time, and that time we will go even further into the future and see if they do manage to win the Premier League. Let me know in the comments if there's anything you would like to see in particular in the next part, but until next time, see ya!